Before the sun came up on December 17th, New York City looked like a postcard. It was quiet, peaceful, and covered in a fresh layer of white. But that calm was an illusion. Underneath that light dusting of snow, a major safety crisis was already unfolding. While the storm system that dropped the snow had moved out days earlier, it left something much worse behind. A massive surge of Arctic air slammed into the northeast, causing temperatures to crater in just a few hours. That sudden deep freeze did something terrifying. It took all that melted slush and moisture and locked it onto the pavement as black ice. Now, if you've lived through a winter in the north, you know the deal. Black ice is essentially invisible. It's a thin, glass-like sheet that looks exactly like a wet road, but it has zero traction. By the time the morning commute hit, New York was effectively a giant ice rink. Routine drives turned into high-stakes gambles. We saw cars sliding through intersections at 5 miles per hour, completely out of control. Sidewalks and subway steps became obstacle courses, and hospitals were quickly overwhelmed with people coming in with slips and falls. You could hear the sirens echoing through the boroughs all morning. First responders were struggling just as much as everyone else, trying to navigate streets where their tires simply couldn't find a grip. It's a sobering reminder of a hard winter truth. The most dangerous part of a storm often isn't the blizzard itself, it's the aftershock. New York didn't need a massive snow dump to be pushed to the edge. It just needed a few degrees and an invisible layer of ice. As the city continues to thaw out, officials are keeping the warnings in place. If you're heading out, don't trust the pavement. Just because you can't see the ice doesn't mean it's not there. You know that feeling when you wake up, look out the window, and see a fresh, quiet layer of snow? On December 15th, 2025, New York looked like a winter wonderland. It was peaceful, it was manageable. Honestly, it looked like a standard December day. But that was the trap. What started as a few inches of powder quickly turned into one of the most dangerous commutes the city has seen in years. The snow hit New York City, northern Jersey, and parts of Pennsylvania hard and fast. Manhattan saw a solid couple of inches, but the outer boroughs and Jersey really got the brunt of it. Places like Queens, Brooklyn, and Long Island were reporting anywhere from 3 to 6 inches. Some spots even topped 8. Plow crews were out all night, but they were fighting a losing battle. As the snow packed down under the weight of the traffic, it created this perfect, compacted surface. And then, the timing just couldn't have been worse. Right as the snow tapered off, the real threat moved in. A massive Arctic air mass flooded the region, and the temperature didn't just drop, it plummeted. By Monday morning, we were looking at single-digit temperatures. Afternoon highs were struggling to even hit 20 degrees. And that's when the black ice took over. Any snow that softened for a second during the day turned into an invisible, glass-like sheet the moment the sun went down. Unlike regular snow, you can't see black ice. You don't know it's there until you're already sliding. The chaos on the roads was honestly hard to believe. We saw massive stretches of the interstate basically grinding to a halt. In some areas, officials had to shut things down entirely because the traction was just gone. It's crazy, dude. Seeing the major arteries of the Northeast reduced to a parking lot because of an invisible layer of ice. Bridges and overpasses were the worst. They freeze way faster than the road, and they became absolute no-go zones. We're talking about a total transportation nightmare. Speed limits slashed to 45 miles per hour, over 1,000 flight delays at JFK and Philly, and thousands of people left without power in the biting cold. It's a sobering reminder that in a place like New York, winter doesn't need a massive blizzard to bring the city to its knees. Sometimes, it's just a few inches of snow and a sudden deep freeze that creates the most danger. It's not always about what you can see piled up on your driveway. It's about what's lurking underneath your tires. Imagine driving down a road that looks just a little wet, maybe a bit dark, but otherwise clear. In New York right now, that's exactly the trap nature has set. That wet look is actually a thin, glass-like layer of black ice, and it's erasing traction without any warning. Drivers are reporting losing control at 5 miles per hour, sliding through intersections, and spinning out on even the gentlest curves. And it's not just the cars. Pedestrians are taking hard falls on subway steps and sidewalks, often not realizing the ground is frozen until they've already hit the pavement. Emergency responders are feeling the pressure immediately. Traffic accidents are spiking across the city, with cars drifting sideways into each other because they simply can't stop. Hospitals are seeing a massive surge in slip-and-fall injuries, fractures, and head impacts, especially among our older neighbors. Officials have a blunt warning: black ice can't be seen, it can only be felt. And by the time you feel it, it's usually too late. Even the salt crews are struggling. When it's this cold, traditional treatments lose their effectiveness, and roads can refreeze in minutes. As this deep freeze tightens its grip, the entire Northeast transportation network is starting to fracture. Major highways have slowed to a crawl. On bridges and overpasses, which freeze first, even the lightest touch on the brakes can trigger a dangerous skid. If you were trying to fly out, the news isn't much better. JFK, LaGuardia, and Newark are all seeing cascading delays, with many passengers waiting over 2 hours just to get off the ground. Between the icy runways and the heavy crosswinds, ground operations have been paused several times just to keep people safe.
I'm sorry, I got a ambulance on. That seems like a terrible idea, guys. He's a gym.
Mass transit is also feeling the hit. NJ Transit has announced widespread delays and even some suspensions because of frozen switches and icy platforms. In the city, the subways are still running, but they've had to slow down on all the elevated sections. The scenes on the side of the road tell the whole story. You can see rows of disabled vehicles lining the highways and tow trucks backed up for hours. Even the ambulances and fire trucks are having to move with extreme caution, often getting stuck behind traffic that physically cannot move out of the way safely. It wasn't just the morning commute that took a hit. The big rigs and delivery trucks that serve as the backbone of the Northeast had to downshift. When the interstates turn into ice rinks, freight movement slows to a crawl, which means we're likely looking at some supply chain delays over the next few days. Right now, the entire region has moved into a defensive posture, prioritizing safety over speed as winter finally asserts its control. In our neighborhoods, the usual morning rhythm just stopped. Everyone was adjusting to frozen steps and sidewalks that felt more like glass. Most school districts made the call early, either delaying openings or moving to remote learning to keep buses off the slickest roads. It was the right move, but it left thousands of parents juggling a hazardous commute with a sudden shift in their family's schedule. Then there's the power grid. When the mercury drops this fast, everybody cranks the heat at once. That surge in demand, combined with ice-laden equipment, left thousands of households in New York, Jersey, and Pennsylvania in the dark. Utility crews have been working double shifts, but let's be real. Trying to fix a transformer in sub-zero wind chills on an icy road is a slow, dangerous process. Our local ERs felt the impact immediately. We've seen a massive rise in slip-and-fall injuries, car accident trauma, and cases of cold exposure. It's been a perfect storm for the hospitals, too, because some of their own staff couldn't even make it in safely, forcing the doctors and nurses already on duty to pull extra-long shifts. For small business owners, this was another tough blow. Between delayed deliveries and zero-foot traffic, a lot of shops just had to eat the loss for the day. But even in the middle of all that, we saw the best of our communities. Neighbors were out checking on the elderly, sharing salt and shovels, and helping each other clear the ice. It's a quiet kind of resilience that New Yorkers are famous for. So what actually caused this? Meteorologists say this wasn't just your typical December flurry. It was a perfect collision. We had a massive dip in the jet stream that allowed a lobe of the polar vortex to surge south. It brought that brutal Arctic air right on the heels of the moisture, essentially flash freezing the region the second the snow stopped falling. Here's what made this situation so uniquely dangerous. We had this brief window during the day where the sun came out and the snow started to melt. But because that Arctic air was waiting right behind it, that moisture refroze almost instantly the second the sun went down. It created what we call a freeze-thaw cycle. Instead of the snow just sitting there, it bonded to the pavement as a thin, transparent layer of black ice. Transportation officials will tell you, these are actually some of the most hazardous scenarios we face. You're more likely to see serious accidents during a flash freeze like this than you are during a massive, heavy snowstorm. And it wasn't just the ground. The wind was a massive factor. We saw gusts pushing the feels-like temperatures into the single digits. When it gets that cold, you aren't just looking at slippery roads. You're looking at a real risk of frostbite and hypothermia for anyone stuck outside or without heat. The biggest trouble spots? Bridges and overpasses. Because they're exposed to air on all sides, they freeze long before the rest of the road. You can drive a mile on a clear street, hit an overpass, and suddenly you're on an ice rink, even after the salt trucks have done their work. Looking at the week ahead, the forecast is shifting. We're expecting a gradual warming trend as we head toward Wednesday, with highs climbing back up into the 40s and maybe even the 50s. But don't let your guard down just yet. Rapid warming brings its own set of problems. All that melting snow has to go somewhere, and we're likely to see a lot of pooling water on the roads and in low-lying areas. If the temperature dips back below freezing at night, which it often does, we're right back where we started with hazardous black ice. If this breakdown helps you stay informed and prepared, be sure to like the video, share it with others in the region, and subscribe for more real-time winter weather coverage and safety updates. Stay safe on those roads.